Alright, Indie Nation, baby. Honestly, if you can't tell by the post in the background, I am a Notre Dame Fighting Irish fan throughout and within. I'm from Indiana, so I'm an Irish fan. But it's time to talk about Brian Kelly, Notre Dame's football head coach, as he's entering his 11th season as Notre Dame's head coach, which will tie some legendary Notre Dame head coaches like Lou Holtz and Frank Leahy, with only 2 seasons behind absolutely legendary Notre Dame head coach Newt Rockne. So, in a short scheme of things, Brian Kelly's time at Notre Dame should be coming to a close sometimes either maybe after this season or up to like 5 years. So, I want to talk about who can possibly be the next head coach at Notre Dame and how soon it will come. So, let's first start off with Brian Kelly's career as Notre Dame's head coach, as he basically rebirthed the Notre Dame football franchise legacy. He is 71-36 overall at Notre Dame. But that's with 2012 and 2013 seasons basically being vacated except for the losses, in which was like 12 wins and 8 wins, so it's like 20 more wins really added to his resume. And he is 4-3 in bowl games with those 2 seasons taken away. He'd be 5-4 with them though. And he also has an appearance in the national championship, the BCS national championship in the 2012 season, and an appearance in the college football playoffs in the 2018 season. So the big deal with Brian Kelly really is he can't win big games at all, as he is 3-10 against top 10 teams, with the one win being against a not very good Stanford team and the other basically vacated. So he basically has no good wins against good actual top 10 teams. And in my opinion, that's absolutely atrocious for a team that should be able to win more than that. At least some top 10 games, at least like win like 25% of them. But I think it should be proving that coaching change should be coming sometime here soon if we don't see win against big opponents come. So it could be really after next season, or it could be like 2 to 3 years down the line. And it kind of hurts because Kelly has been doing better in recruiting here recently, but like pulling in top 10 classes, like top 15 classes. But I think it's absolutely necessary to look at some possible name candidates, because I think we should be moving on from Brian Kelly sometime here in the next 5 years. So time to look at some potential candidates. Of course, big name number 1 is going to be Mr. PJ Fleck, head coach at Minnesota University right now. And of course, just like anyone else kind of looking at head coaches, this one's kind of my favorite. And I would love to see him bring what he has brought to Minnesota over to Notre Dame, as he's just a great motivational speaker, as well as seems like a great recruiter. He seems to grind and pound, get the players physically tough, and he kind of fits what Notre Dame's all about at the same time, with good grades, good faith, good football. And that's kind of his motto at the same time, even though he kind of has the row the boat thing going on. And it really does feel like a perfect pairing. But is he interested in Notre Dame, and does he want to really leave Minnesota is the big question for Notre Dame. I would imagine he would be interested in joining Notre Dame and leaving Minnesota, but as a Notre Dame fan and like full bias on it, I would just look at a chance to be a Notre Dame football coach, a hard one to pass on, because you're just this legendary franchise. Maybe not as legendary as like the Alabama right now or the Clemson, but you look back in the past history, it's like no other. But I honestly would understand if he does pass on it, or if he just doesn't agree with like Notre Dame's philosophy for some reason, or just wants to stay low in Minnesota, or like his faith just doesn't match up to the Catholic faith that Notre Dame does have, and I would understand and get it. But also just a little reminder, last coach from Minnesota to come to Notre Dame was Mr. Lou Holtz himself. Next, we've got another favorite choice going on right now in Urban Meyer. Of course, everyone knows what he's done at Florida, at Ohio State, and that he's coached at Notre Dame before as their wide receiver coach. I could really see him being one of Notre Dame's top targets, but the only problem here is the issues in the past, especially with like his assistant coaches and questions brought among them, and of course he has those health concerns. Of course, Urban Meyer is still going to be a name to look out for in the Notre Dame head coaching spot if it does open up, and he doesn't really have a coaching job right now, but his past history just might put Notre Dame in a different direction, even though he has coached at Notre Dame before. Also, it does seem like Meyer could possibly be done with coaching this time for good, but he said that last time too, so I guess we can just wait and see what really happened. My next option is a former Notre Dame player, currently the offensive coordinator, actually, and Tommy Rees. We actually recently just saw this happen at Notre Dame with women's basketball as Muffet McGraw just retired, and a player from her national championship team who was an assistant at some point took over for her at head coach. Of course, that was Nayo Ivy. So who's to say Notre Dame wouldn't do it again with someone like Tommy Rees, who just got the offensive coaching job and was on the team during the 2012 championship run with Brian Kelly as its head coach, even though they did get blown out in that game. So let's just say this has a big possibility to happen. I'm just going to put it on here, and I definitely wouldn't be surprised if Tommy Rees does end up being higher. Another name to look out for, of course, is Chris Peterson. He's absolutely legendary head coach. Put in the names of Dabo Swinney and Nick Saban, Chris Peterson is right up there with him, which, of course, he brought Idaho a must-watch football team in Boise State, and then did the exact same thing to Washington, where he just didn't have very good recruiting classes at all or very good talent. And it's quite remarkable what he did in that Pac-12, which is known to be a pretty tough conference through and throughout. And this dude is just known for building a football program, and a pretty damn good one at that. So let's say, give him some top 15 recruiting classes, give him the talent that Notre Dame players have. I think he could absolutely bring a national championship to the Notre Dame franchise. And he just recently resigned too, so you have to wonder if is Notre Dame like his next step in his legacy, especially for someone that started at a smaller school, went to a bigger school. Now it's time to go to those big schools: Notre Dame, Ohio State, Alabama, Clemson, Florida State, Florida. You have to imagine he's going to go one of those top 5 Power 5 schools. All right, I decided to put a fun one here, but we're going to go with Skip Holtz. Of course, Skip Holtz, Lou Holtz's son. And I doubt this one really ever happens, but hey, it's a possibility, especially looking at how well he's been doing at Louisiana Tech recently. And of course, like I said, Skip is Lou Holtz's son, for those who didn't know. And you know what Lou Holtz did at Notre Dame, brought a championship here. So I just don't think this one's very likely to happen, but it is a fun one to put on here, of course, so I have to put it on here. But I think it'd be fun if PJ Fleck became Notre Dame head coach. Skip Holtz went to coach at Minnesota right after that, so he'd be kind of following in his father's footstep in that sense. So if I had to take a guess on what order Notre Dame would go after these coaches, it would be PJ Fleck number 1, Chris Peterson number 2, Tommy Rees number 3, Urban Meyer number 4, and then, of course, Skip Holtz number 5. So what's your guys' thoughts and opinions on Notre Dame's head coach? When do you think Brian Kelly will be done at Notre Dame? Or, do you think it's happening sometime soon? It's 5 years? Just put your time frame down below and who you think is going to follow him after that time. Of course, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to click those links down there in the description below. Instagram, Twitter, Discord, and Patreon. And, of course, just make sure to keep the sports weave flowing throughout the day.